That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
I will say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner. Welcome to 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. I am your host, Brian McFadden. It is Monday, September 26th, 2022. The Week 3 in the NFL nearly in the books with just a single game to go tonight, and we will be previewing that at the end of the episode. This is the recap episode every Monday. We're going to review my game picks against the spread from Friday. We'll give a little breakdown on all of the games from the Sunday action. Very excited for the special guest that we have joining me tonight. I've got Shane Hallam of Draft Countdown. You guys, if you're subscribers to the Legit Football newsletter, may have seen his mock draft. A lot of you guys clicked on it, so I know that you were really enjoying that content last Wednesday. Shane, welcome to 30 Minutes of Football. How you doing, dude?
No, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Brian. It's exciting. I'm excited to pair up with you and pair up with Legit Football, and having a good time watching college football, watching NFL, getting ready for the NFL draft already.
Now, I did find out right before we started recording that you are a Steelers fan. I almost offered you condolences, but I did say you guys have had about 2 decades of success. I don't feel bad for you, although it is Mitch Trubisky. Everybody feels a little sad for you. But hey, your draft countdown, you focus on college, you kind of have that to take your mind off the Steelers. Are you ready to get this party started here on 30 Minutes of Football?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So once we get our timers set up, we will go ahead and jump into all of the Week 3 action. 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football starts now. So as we do it every Monday, I'm going to pull up my picks. Once again, guys, this is through the Run Your Pool VIP contest. If you want to join that contest, the season-long contest just started for Week 3, but you can still join VIP, get access to a dashboard with data from the top 1% of game pickers against the spread on Run Your Pool. Just go to runyourpool.com, sign up for their VIP, and use code LEGITVIP. So we already went out after Thursday's game, so luckily for you, Shane, we do not have to dive into how bad the Steelers' offense looked, so we will skip right over to the Tennessee Titans, 0-2, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, 0-2. This is what I like to call a cornered animal game. Basically, which team is going to step up, get out of the cellar, get a win, and turn their season around, potentially. Ended up being the Tennessee Titans. Shane, what are your kind of thoughts? And I don't know which of these games you watched. I don't know how much you dive into the Sunday, but what were your thoughts on this Raiders-Titans matchup?
I thought it was interesting. I felt like Derrick Henry was finally himself, looked like himself in this game, and that was exciting. I think that's why the Titans won. They actually had a nice balance of the run and pass game. And for the Raiders, Mac Hollins is their leading receiver, just not what we expected going in. It feels like if that's what we're going to see from this offense, I think it's problematic ultimately, and why they're the only 0-3 team in the NFL right now.
Here's a fun fact. Mac Hollins has more receiving yards in his first 3 games with the Raiders than he's ever had in an entire season. That is not a good sign. As a Dolphins fan, I'm familiar with Hollins. He made some nice plays here and there. He was actually the recipient of the helmet, Fitzmagic helmet thing against the Raiders a couple years ago. He was the one who caught it. So he had some plays here and there, but he's never had more than, I think it's like 226 passing yards in the season. He's already at 240, mainly because he had 150 plus in this game. But I'm with you here. This is a Vegas offense that they added Devontae Adams, they added Josh McDaniels, and somehow they look worse than last year. I'm not sure how that's possible. And in the number 1 hardest division in the NFL, that does not set up well for Vegas. Do you have any hope for the Raiders going forward, or do you think that they're done already?
I have some hope. They can rush the passer on defense, and I think Derek Carr's good enough. Once they kind of get settled, I think things will perk up here a little bit. I thought they might be able to win this game. So I don't think they're going to be in the basement and picking top 5 at the end. I think they'll get up to 6 or 7 wins at least.
I did pick the Titans to win this game. Got that one right. My confidence was only 1 on this because 2 0-2 teams had no idea what direction it went in, but I did get that. The Titans, a lot of the problems that have plagued them the first 2 weeks came up in the second half. It was enough. They held on to the end, but there's still a lot of problems with this Tennessee team. Let's go ahead and go to the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Finally looked a little bit more like themselves. Luckily, they got to play a Jets team that is one crazy 90-second segment away from being 0-3. Joe Flacco is still Joe Flacco. They win 27-12. Jets didn't even get a single touchdown. Quick thoughts on this game.
I felt like the Bengals offense kind of got back to it. Tyler Boyd was getting some work. I feel like Joe Burrow is actually using the open receiver instead of forcing things out to Jamar Chase. Yep. And so they felt a lot more comfortable. Jets-wise, it's just Joe Flacco throwing the ball 52 times. You're not going to win. Breece Hall looked good, outproduced Michael Carter.
Second week in a row. Yep.
So I think that's that situation. I think could be good for them, but I don't know if the Jets still are going to be any good. I just can't. I can't see it. I'm not a Zach Wilson fan, so I even think when he comes back, it might be a little rough.
Yeah, I agree. One of the regular guests we have on here is the Pro Football Demon, and he's a diehard Jets fan. He's also not a Zach Wilson fan, definitely not a Saleh fan at this point. The one thing I'll say, at least it got rid of that fake 1 week quarterback competition between like what happens if Flacco wins again, the Bengals. That's out the window. Zach Wilson looks like he's on track to play in week 4. The one thing still worrisome about Cincinnati, they only allowed 2 sacks, but Burrow was still heavily pressured. That offensive line through 3 weeks has honestly looked like one of the worst in the NFL. They need to figure out how to fix that going forward. Now comes the game I am the most excited to talk about, and I could not be more happy to be wrong. My number 16 most confident pick was the Buffalo Bills to beat my Miami Dolphins by more than 5.5 points. I'm ecstatic to have gotten this one wrong as a Dolphins fan. Your quick thoughts on the upset by the Dolphins in Miami?
I think Buffalo's secondary being beat up really helped, but Miami has been clutch this year. I think the coaching by Mike McDaniels has been excellent. I think having Jalen Waddle, having Tyreek Hill, having these options has been helpful. I think the Miami defense just has been really underrated. They really forced Josh Allen to have to step up and almost do everything. And at some point, that's just not sustainable for the Bills. So I felt like that really worked. I thought the Miami running game would be a little bit better, but man, Tua's been that deep pass, the deep touchdown to Waddle was just, that was
perfect,
beautiful.
perfection.
Yeah, and so I think he'll keep getting a bad rap, but I think Tua's looking good this year.
A few things I took out of this game. One, the Bills outgained the Dolphins offense by nearly 300 yards. So the Bills were able to move the ball at will, but the Dolphins made some key red zone stops, key fourth down stops. They actually stood up when they needed to. The ultimate bend but don't break. To me, that's coaching. That shows that even these guys, some of these Bills drives were 15 plays, 17 plays. They were limiting the big play, but the Bills were methodically moving it down the field. In a very, very hot Miami, a lot of these players were getting, IVs and cramping. The Dolphins defense stood tall when they need to. To me, these guys are motivated. That makes me excited as we continue the rest of the NFL season. And hey, the Dolphins are one of only 3 undefeated teams, maybe 2 after tonight, and they're number 1 in the AFC East. Let's go ahead to the NFC East with one of the other undefeated teams left. Philadelphia Eagles continue their dominance to start the season, 24-8. Carson Wentz's return to face the Eagles. This was in Washington, but facing the Eagles for the first time since he left. And I think he was sacked 9 times. So the Eagles' defense looked great. Hurts still looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Your thoughts on this game?
I'm kind of surprised. Not that I thought Hurts would be bad. I thought he was better than a lot of the narratives, but I didn't think he'd be this good. This is like MVP season good. Now we'll see when the competition stiffens up defensively a little bit. But Devonta Smith, after AJ Brown had the big first 2 weeks, Devonta Smith steps in with 8 catches, 169 yards, some beautiful touchdown catch, which was a great pass by Hurts. So it's interesting. I think Carson Wentz had some good statistical games, but I think that was kind of a mirage as well going in. Washington, I think, is going to have a lot of trouble. And, the Eagles' defense is stacked too. So I think the Eagles going forward, interesting team. I tweeted that they actually picked up an extra first round pick next year. I think just in case they need to trade up for a quarterback, and if they don't need to, and they're going to get to add 2 first rounders, or you spend that on another veteran. I mean, this team could be dangerous for a while.
What a luxury they have. Absolutely. A couple things I noted here. Hurts is actually one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL right now. That is certainly something that even I think the best Hurts defenders would not have predicted. And this defense looks just as good as advertised. The secondary, we saw them shut down Justin Jefferson last week, and that Kevin O'Connell offense in Minnesota, and here the pass rush absolutely dominated Washington. There's not a lot of weaknesses. They were number 2 in our power rankings last week. The Bills lost. Stick around. We'll do our Wednesday power ranking show and see if they inch up into number 1. One of the biggest surprises of the week, Kansas City Chiefs. I put this as an 8 confidence, not because I didn't think Kansas City would win, but because 6.5, I still picked the Colts to win the AFC South to start the season. I thought that was a little bit high on the spread, but I certainly did not predict the Chiefs to lose. Colts score late and then stop Kansas City 20-17. They stopped their skid after a horrible start to the season, tying Houston and then losing horribly to Jacksonville last week. Quick thoughts on this game?
It's just a weird game. If you had said to the Chiefs, "Oh, you're going to hold Jonathan Taylor under 3.5 yards a carry," I think they would have been like, "Great, we got this. We're going to win this game." The Sky Moore drop, muff punt, I think was a big game changer, and we saw at halftime Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy having an argument, which they also had in their last loss against the Bengals in the playoffs. I just feel like this offense hasn't gotten its juice together yet for the Chiefs. Like they're not in sync. New receivers, Tyreek Hill's gone. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 7 carries for 0 yards and a touchdown. I don't think that this is working for them. And the Colts, tied Houston, had a pretty terrible start to the season. But I think they're a tougher team than people give them credit for, especially defensively. They're interesting. So I think the Chiefs will get it together, but I think the Colts, this is going to be a start of an uphill climb for them that'll go pretty well.
One of the narratives that we heard a lot last year was that this way to stop Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense was to play a lot of deep cover 2, a lot of cover 2 shells, keep everything in front of them, limit the deep ball, and don't blitz them. The first 2 weeks, the teams that they faced, Arizona in week 1, LA last week, actually blitzed Mahomes a lot. The Colts didn't. The Colts, I think, blitzed him on, put pressure on maybe 2 or 3 plays. Otherwise, they stayed in deep coverage. Is that still what works? Is this something that's sustainable? I mean, to hold the Chiefs offense to 17, is that the formula? Do we just go back to that as a defense?
I think you could try that. I think teams did last year, and they ended up catching up to it by late in the regular season. And I think that will eventually happen again. But like we talked about, the whole offense, different personnel, especially weapon-wise, it might take a couple weeks to readjust to it. I expect we see that against the Chiefs again. Teams are going to try it.
Yeah, it might as well. I mean, if a team like Indianapolis, whose offense and defense look bad through the first 2 weeks, is able to limit the high-powered Chiefs, I think we'll see more teams employing that strategy. All right, let's go for the bottom dweller game of the week. Chicago Bears hosting the Houston Texans. Spread was 2.5. I picked the Bears to cover it. They covered it right at the end of the game with the last-second field goal. Justin Fields, 2 interceptions. The passing game looked dead for the 3rd straight week. The one bright spot is Khalil Herbert. Looked great. Had over 150 yards rushing. Came in for an injured David Montgomery. The defense made plays when they needed to. Roquan Smith, who was questionable to even play in this game, ended up being all over the field. Got the game-sealing interception of Davis Mills. What do we walk away? Dameon Pierce, maybe a bright spot on the Houston side?
Yeah, I think so. Other than his 2 fumbles, he had a couple fumbles in there too. So it's like once you start doing well for the rookie, but he had that nice touchdown run at the goal line that I thought was good. I think for the Texans, I think this kind of proves Davis Mills isn't it. I mean, you're going to ride him out, but I think that proof's in the pudding. And the Bears, Justin Fields looked terrible. I thought it was the worst game he's played, even going back to last year when he had some bad games. It's right up there
against a not great Texans defense. It's not like what is the reason? Do you have a theory on why Fields is playing so poorly?
I don't know. I thought we would see a little more rolling out. I think the offensive line is just such a bad pass blocking offensive line, and I almost wonder if he's gotten the David Carr, hit out of him last year against Cleveland, like just beat up too much, too scared. His feet never stop moving, and that leads to inaccuracy. It leads to bad passes. He's got to do a lot better. The Bears are going to be down the toilet pretty soon.
Another team that has definitely underwhelmed this year, the New Orleans Saints, were favored on the road by 3.5. I thought their defense has the talent to be a top 5 defense, and I thought their offense would be enough to beat a Carolina team that we had at number 32 in our power rankings last week. Credit to the Panthers defense for finally stepping up. They scored the first touchdown of the game with a fumble return. But this Saints offense, short of a fourth quarter comeback against Atlanta, has looked absolutely dreadful under Jameis Winston. They lose pretty decisively 22-14 against the Carolina Panthers in a division game. I was just surprised how bad this offense looks. Jameis Winston with another couple interceptions. That's 5 in 2 games. Any thoughts on this one?
Andy Dalton time for the Saints.
I'm thinking I agree with you there. Might as well. What do you have to lose?
Like you said, the defense is good, and the defense played well in this game. They gave up that broken play to Laviska Shenault, but really other than that, I mean, they held Christian McCaffrey as in check as you can, especially catching the football. I feel like the quarterback changed, limiting turnovers, playing Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Chris Olave in garbage time looked excellent. So I really think the Saints should make that change at quarterback. I didn't think I'd say that ever this season, but here we are.
I believe Dennis Allen was asked about it and said that that's not something he's considering right now. If you want any shot at keeping up in this division, you just lost to the Panthers, had to eke out a last-second win to beat the Falcons, and then lost decisively to the Bucs last week. You're going to need a spark on offense, and I think we can both agree that Jameis Winston is not it. I've never been a Jameis fan in the pros. I went to Florida State. He delivered a national championship there, but he has just been way too turnover prone. He got the LASIK, didn't help. He's still throwing interceptions. Even his former Bucs teammates knew that they could count on him to do that last week. That chime means it is halftime. This is the time, guys, when I always remind you, if you're not already signed up to the Legit Football newsletter, it's free. It will always be free. 5 days a week, all year long. We deliver the top 6 stories. Only takes 5 minutes or less to read. Get caught up on everything you need to know in the NFL. 5 minutes or less, delivered direct to your inbox for free. Just go to legitfootball.com, right at the top of the screen if you're watching us on YouTube. Hit join, enter your email address. Makes it nice and easy. We're going to see a lot of content, especially around draft season, from this guy right here, Shane Hallam. Why don't you let him know a little bit more about Draft Countdown?
Draft Countdown is one of the oldest NFL draft websites in existence since the late 90s. It's been up there, and so myself and my managing partner, Brian Bassarge, took over as managing partners last year and relaunched. I've been a draft guy for as long as I can remember, and we bring in new articles every single day. We do a mock draft every Monday. That's what the people go for. I do a 7-rounder every 2 weeks, and I go far ahead. I have a 2024 7-round mock draft, 2025 3-round mock draft. I have rankings for all 3 years, so if you want to look to the future as well, it's a good way to start to learn who some of these players are going to be. And we do a podcast, the Draft Countdown podcast. So whatever you're looking for NFL draft-wise, we're here for you.
Legit Football put out 2 mock drafts all of last year, right around draft season. This guy's putting them out every single week. In future years, check out draftcountdown.com. You're going to see more content from them in Legit Football, especially come draft season at the start of 2023. Shane, we have given halftime speeches. We've hydrated. We've strategized. Are you ready to start the second half here?
Yeah, let's bring it back.
Awesome. So let's bring those picks back up. Let's go ahead and dive into the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, once again, showing MVP form, sealing that game away with a rushing touchdown. He had 4 total touchdowns again to beat the New England Patriots on the road. I was very confident in this game. This was my 3rd most confident game. I'm not high on this New England offense. If you've been listening to the show, you know that since the offseason. I thought this was just a really good setup for Baltimore to bounce back after that just disappointing fourth quarter defeat last week. It was closer than I thought, but in the end, Patriots multiple turnovers. Ravens defense stood tall, and Lamar absolutely took this game over. They ended up beating the Patriots 37-26. Any quick thoughts on this game, Shane?
The Ravens defense is beat up, and I think that's been the past 2 weeks. I think that will rectify itself, and if you can rectify that with Lamar Jackson throwing the way that he ran for over 100 yards in this game, but his passing downfield, it's the best passing I've seen of his career, probably since he was in college at Louisville. Is exceptional. They're using 4 different tight ends. They're swapping them in. I just think the Ravens could have an unstoppable offense, especially after that Dolphins game. I think realize, hey, you can't take the foot off the gas at all. The Patriots, Mac Jones, high ankle sprain. Brian Hoyer's going to be playing, which may not be much worse, but it's not going to be better.
Certainly not going to be better. Yeah.
So, I mean, the run game works for them, but, I think the Patriots defense isn't what it used to be. This is a shell of what the Patriots teams of old are.
I've said this many times, but I have to say it one more time, especially as a Dolphins fan. I'm probably going to take as many opportunities as I can to, poke a little something on Bill Belichick and the Patriots, but people gave him too much credit. They gave him too much benefit of the doubt. I said there was too much turnover in the coaching. I said there was too much turnover in the talent department on offense and defense, and they didn't really replace it in anything. They just thought that they could lose Josh McDaniels, that they could lose J.C. Jackson, that they could lose Dante Hightower and just not skip a beat, and it just hasn't happened. It's nice to see as a Dolphins fan, but if you're a Patriots fan, you got to be concerned with how New England looks. Let's go ahead, and a team that covered and almost won a division game, but they were also, I was confident. I did pick Minnesota to win, but I picked Detroit to cover, so I got this one right. It was one of my more confident picks. But at the end, Minnesota comes back in the fourth quarter, beats the Detroit Lions in Minnesota, 28-24. Lions are playing so great, but just coming up just short now, and now sit at 1-2. Thoughts here?
I mean, the Lions should have won this game. They were the better team in this one.
I very much agree.
I think Jared Goff's actually playing decently well, which I think he has for his career. I think he's a little bit underrated myself. But Jamal Williams stepping in, DeAndre Swift got banged up. He's might be out for a few weeks. Jamal Williams looked really good. And, I feel like Dalvin Cook getting hurt. I just don't know. Kirk Cousins was efficient, effective. But, the one guy that stood out for me for Detroit was corner Jeff Okudah. He's shut down Devonta Smith, no catches week 1. And now Justin Jefferson shut him down. That's something that the Lions haven't seen in a while.
They need that. A lot of people expected him at the number 3 overall pick 3 years ago to kind of show this from the start. He didn't in his first year, injured last year. This is the Okudah that a lot of people thought is if he can keep up this. That was one of their biggest question marks to me was the secondary for Detroit. They've got a pass rush now with Aiden Hutchinson. They've got a high-scoring offense that's capable of putting up points. They've got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL when healthy. It was that secondary. So if Okudah can play like this, Anthony, our producer, who is a Lions fan, take heart. I know you lost this one, but this is still a team that's going to be spicy all season long. Let's go ahead and another big surprise, Jacksonville Jaguars, or maybe it shouldn't be surprising. Maybe this is the Doug Peterson effect. Maybe all of those moves, maybe having high draft picks, getting a generational quarterback like Trevor Lawrence just needed the right maestro to get these ingredients to work. And we've seen it two weeks in a row. The Colts just beat the Chiefs. Maybe it was just the Jaguars playing so well last week, absolutely dominating the Chargers. I will say this, Justin Herbert did not look like himself. He missed a lot of throws. I watched this game closely because I wanted to see how Herbert would bounce back. But at the end of the day, Jacksonville capitalized on multiple turnovers, 38-10. It was an absolute drubbing in LA. Your thoughts?
Trevor Lawrence looks like what we thought he should have been last year. Just getting away from Urban Meyer for him. I'm amazed at James Robinson. I can't believe he had an Achilles injury last year. 100 yards rushing, 6 yards a carry against the Chargers defense. It was banged up, but still has some good players. Have some tough players there. They were able to do well, and I have to give Trent Baalke credit. I think the defensive rookies are playing really well. Trayvon Walker's playing well. Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma. And then Josh Allen, their defensive end, that's really good. 4 QB hits. Not a ton on the stat sheet, but he changed this game, and he did not let Justin Herbert get comfortable.
I have a fair amount of Niners fans who listen to my show and watch my show because I'm a regular guest on a 49ers podcast. They're not going to like you giving praise to Trent Baalke, but I can't argue with you. At least the draft picks for this year, as you mentioned, Walker and Lloyd have been exceptional. They have really helped that Jacksonville defense looked good. Let's move on to Battle of the Goats, it was called. We had Aaron Rodgers, Battle of the Goats without offenses, without any weapons, with all sorts of problems. This really was a defensive slugfest, which is exactly what I predicted. And the reason I picked the Packers here is because I felt that they had a slight edge in their offense, especially in the run game. It ended up kind of playing out that way. The Packers did win the game by 2, but Tampa Bay had 2.5 points, so got that one correct. Wasn't all that confident. Neither team looked particularly good. The Packers got off to a hot start. Romeo Doubs, it was a guy I was high on from Nevada during the draft. I'd love to hear your thoughts as a draft guy on Doubs coming in. That's a bright spot, but Tampa Bay Bucks without those weapons, I thought their offense would look bad. They followed through. Until they get those guys back, it might be tough for Tom and the boys.
Yeah, I mean they were trying to trot out Cole Beasley a day after he signed to try to throw him pad. The timing was off. I think Romeo Doubs looks great. I liked him as a deep threat. I thought he had a good Senior Bowl and kind of all-star game. The whole offseason was good, and he really made that Nevada offense run last year. Finally gets the full complement of snaps, and he really settled down and found ways to get open. I think we're going to see a lot more of him. I think Aaron Rodgers after this game is going to feel really comfortable with him, and maybe the Packers offense can get it going against some of the weaker defenses. Tampa's tough.
Doubs is actually the leading receiver right now for the Packers as far as yardage goes after 3 weeks, and I'm with you there. One of my predictions was when it came to him versus Pickens, even though I think Pickens is incredibly talented, the fact that he's got Rodgers and there's not a lot of other weapons in Green Bay, I figured Doubs would start to produce sooner than Pickens. We're seeing that come true. I have him in both my main dynasty leagues, so I'm excited to see him produce. I started him in one this week. Very, very excited that I did that. Just happened to make that call. I felt it was right time. Los Angeles Rams, defending Super Bowl champions, very, very confident that they would win this game. Because it was a division game, I only had a 6 level of confidence, but the Rams did end up winning and covering. I'm not high on Arizona at all. I've said that multiple times. This game kind of played out exactly like I thought. Kyler did make some plays to at least make it spicy, but at the end of the day, the Rams are the better team. Arizona has issues on the offense and the defense. Your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think the Rams hopefully are getting it together a little bit after the first couple weeks. I mean, I didn't think Matthew Stafford played particularly well. Cam Akers actually ran the ball pretty well, and Cooper Kupp's just such a weapon. But the Rams defense stood up. I think they're kind of finally back healthy. The Cardinals, I just don't know what to make of it. I never thought I'd say I feel like they have a lack of weapons when they spend picks and free agency, all the time. But maybe once DeAndre Hopkins is back, maybe once Rondale Moore's healthy, I don't know. But it seemed like Kyler was just trying to make things happen that just weren't there. And it's a worry. If they can't run the football like they did last year, I think they're in for some trouble.
Yeah, they've got problems on the offensive line. They've got a dearth of weapons. Their secondary has been bad, and they can't establish a pass rush. Unlike some of these teams that don't have a lot of weaknesses, this is one of those teams that doesn't have a lot going for it. If Kyler Murray isn't running around 85 yards and a 2-point conversion to have a magical win like last week, not a lot to look forward to with the Cardinals this season. Sticking in the NFC West, Seattle Seahawks, Geno Smith losing at home to the Atlanta Falcons. This is another one where I just felt that I was very confident in this one. I liked the Falcons' weapons more. I thought their defense would play pretty aggressive. They did finally get to Geno towards the end of the game and intercepted him to end it. Got, I think, a couple of sacks there. The Falcons 27, Seattle 23. Finally got to see some Kyle Pitts action. That's my turnover. That's my throwing it over to you.
Look, I was happy about it after us fantasy players got bashed by Arthur Smith last week. We're trying to win. Well, he hadn't won a game till today when he finally used Kyle Pitts. Surprise. That's how you do it. But I mean, Kyle Pitts and Drake London just should be the focal point of that offense. That should be what this is going through. But we saw Cordell Patterson emerge. I mean, he's still, I don't know, he looks like he's 25 out there when he's been around for so long. And so when you have a run defense like Seattle that can't tackle, that's where a guy like that really excels. And I still think the Seattle offense is pretty good. I mean, I know the Falcons defense has its problems, but Geno Smith's doing much better than I expected. So I do think they're going to be a formidable opponent.
So I saw a cool stat today. The Atlanta Falcons last 2 seasons, 5-0 when Kyle Pitts gets at least 80 yards receiving. 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward equation. I really had a feeling that that no matter what Smith said about this isn't fantasy football, that he would make a concerted effort to get Pitts more involved. And what do you know? They win the game. Arthur, if you're listening, because I'm sure you watch 30 minutes of football, get Kyle Pitts more involved. Drake London, absolutely slam dunk of a pick. We're seeing that already. If Cordero Patterson can continue to produce in the running game, even if you have some issues on defense, you can stay spicy. You can stay up with teams. You almost beat the Saints. You almost came back against the Rams. This is a Falcons team that I've been higher on than a lot of people. It's nice to see them actually get a win here. And let's close it out with another NFC West. I mentioned earlier I do have a lot of 49ers people and fans who listen to this show because I'm a weekly guest on the 49ers Rush podcast. Shout out as always to John Chapman. Two just stuck in the mud offenses and two defenses playing really well, and it was just a matter of Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of the back of an end zone was the difference in this game. Any high-level thoughts? San Francisco losing 11-10. Yes, that's a big 11-10 on Sunday Night Football.
It was just a weird game as a whole. Like, I feel like both of these offenses should be better. Russell Wilson especially. But there's some easy passes he just missed. I feel like that's not there. Maybe it'll get there in time with these receivers and with some of the weapons. But, even when the run game was working for them, they just went away from it. And even San Francisco, the run game was working, they just went away from it. And it felt like, hey, if it's going to be a low-scoring game, like run the football, that's what your offensive line's built to do. A lot of injuries. And the defenses did play well. I think they did play well, but it didn't give me hope for either of these teams, I guess, moving forward.
We've seen 3 weeks now of this Broncos offense, and so many people, myself included, the Broncos are a quarterback away. They had to deal with Drew Lock. They had to deal with Teddy Bridgewater. And now they've got Russell Wilson, right, with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Albert O. You just got all these weapons, the two great running backs, and Williams and Gordon. And we just haven't seen it. And it's looked like a lot of it has done with the play calling. They did have one drive, the drive where they ended up taking the lead towards the end of the game. That looked like what the Broncos offense could be. Do you think there's still hope to see that? Or do we think after 3 weeks that this Hackett experiment is not working?
I definitely don't trust Hackett. I'll say that. I think that's problematic. I don't think he appropriately rose the ranks to get to this head coaching spot. But I do think the offense, I think Cortland Sutton's talented. I think Jerry Jeudy's talented. I think they have the running backs to catch the football too. I think it'll get better than this. Maybe it won't hit the heights that we thought.
I'm with you there. It can't get much worse.
That's fair too.
Kind of only up from here. All right, we've got about a minute and a half left. This is usually the time when we take a look at the Monday Night Football game. Luckily, and I say luckily because, we can't get enough football, but I prefer a single Monday night game. I don't know how you feel on the matter, but that whole dueling game, and I'm one who tries to watch every single game if I can. On Sunday, I have Sunday tickets, so I've got like 6 games going at once. On Monday and Thursday, I just want one game to focus on. Tonight, that game is the Dallas Cowboys 1-1, coming off a victory over the Bengals against the undefeated New York Giants. It is at the Meadowlands. Do you think this Giants team is for real? Who do you have in this game?
I think this Giants team is pretty good. I think the Giants are going to win. I do. I think at home, I think Saquon Barkley has a pretty solid week. I think they try to limit Daniel Jones throwing the football. And Dallas' defense, Micah Parsons, they can rush the passer. Cooper Rush looked decent last week. But I'm just not sure that I fully trust Dallas to be able to scheme up. I think Brian Daboll's doing a great job there in New York.
100%. I believe the reason the Giants are undefeated is because of their coaching. But at the end of the day, talent has to play a part. I do think Dallas is more talented, even with Cooper Rush at quarterback. I think the defense makes a difference. We did hear earlier today that Micah Parsons, even though he'd been ill, will be playing. They will be without Michael Gallup. But I think they'll score enough points. I think this will be a low-scoring NFC East affair. The Giants are favored by 2.5 at home, but I've got Dallas covering and winning that game. Not super confident, but that is my pick. And that is it. The gong means we are done. As usual, we timed it right till the end. We are at the post-game press conference. Shane, how did your team perform today?
Look, I felt good. It took a little bit to get into it, get involved, but once we got into the rhythm, I felt well.
There you go. Well, thank you for visiting. We will definitely have you on again. Guys, as I told you before, we will be doing multiple things with Shane over at Draft Countdown, especially to start next year draft season. Make sure, if you didn't already, go back to Last Legit Football, check out their draft count, the mock draft, or just go to draftcountdown.com each week. He's got new mocks every single week. I still can't believe how he does it, but I'm in awe of you, Shane. Shane, thank you for coming on. Do you want a quick plug? Let everybody know where to find you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me up above Shane Hallam and at Draft Countdown on Twitter. That's the best place to find me. Thanks, Brian, for having me, man. It was a blast.
Happy to have you on. Good luck to your Steelers for the rest of the year. I'm not too confident. Hopefully, for your sake, Kenny Pickett comes in sooner rather than later. Mike Tomlin is just blowing steam off everybody saying he's not going to play him. Guys, thank you for watching and listening. Monday Night Football starting in about 10 minutes. I am, again, going to be on Twitter Spaces with the NFL Stats Twitter account at NFL_stats. If you just want to listen to us Manning casted, it's just me and Jimmy from NFL Stats just kind of talking about our thoughts on the game for the first half. So go check that out on Twitter. Thanks for listening and watching, guys. We will see you tomorrow for the fantasy episode. This has been 30 Minutes of Football with Legit Football. That's spicy. Jimmy Garoppolo on there could be a benefit, but have they kind of burned that bridge?
We'll say this. Gardner Minshew is the best backup in the NFL.
I love Gardner.